The Tel Aviv training facility fell silent completely. It was March 2019, and Israel's premier combat training center had gathered the world's most respected martial arts instructors for the International Close Quarters Combat Symposium, where military trainers from 17 nations filled the observation hall, each representing their country's elite fighting systems. Among them stood Avi Goldstein, Israel's most decorated Krav Maga instructor, 42 years old, 6'1", 195 pounds of pure muscle, who'd spent 25 years perfecting Israel's legendary combat system training IDF elite units, consulting for international security agencies, and authoring 3 books on practical combat that were required reading in militaries worldwide, with reputation built on one principle: effectiveness over aesthetics. When the Filipino delegation took the stage, Avi leaned back in his chair with barely concealed skepticism as Carlos Mendez, a 38-year-old Filipino Eskrima master standing 5 feet 9 inches and 165 pounds, seemingly small compared to other instructors, wore simple black training uniform beside an array of training blades and sticks representing centuries of Filipino warrior tradition. Today, I'll demonstrate principles of Filipino blade combat. Specifically, integration of Carlos began in accented English, but Avi's scarf cut through room, making every head turn. Filipino knife fighting. Avi's voice carried authority of decades. With respect, Mr. Mendez, we're here discussing combat systems working in real-world scenarios. What you're about to show us, these elaborate stick patterns, these flashy blade demonstrations, they look impressive in exhibitions, but against trained opponents, against someone actually wanting to kill you. He shook head dismissively. It's dance, not combat. Room erupted in uncomfortable murmurs, with several instructors nodding agreement, while others looked toward Carlos waiting response. Avi continued standing, commanding room's attention. I've spent entire career stripping away unnecessary. Krav Maga works because brutal, direct, efficient, no forms, no kata, no performance. Attack bodies' vulnerabilities, neutralize threats, survive. These Filipino systems, he gestured dismissively toward Carlos's weapons, come from different era, village warfare, tribal conflicts. Worked against opponents with similar weapons, similar training, but modern combat. He pointed diagrams on screen showing Krav Maga's direct line attacks. Need systems designed today's threats, not historical reenactments. Australian Special Forces instructor nodded. Avi has point. Analyzed dozens traditional martial arts. Most don't translate modern combat scenarios. Carlos stood quietly through entire dismissal, expression calm, almost serene. What room didn't know? Carlos came family preserving Filipino martial arts, 7 generations, great-great-grandfather warrior during Philippine Revolution. Grandfather taught combat Filipino guerrillas World War II. Father police instructor using Eskrima, hundreds real encounters. Scarred forearms telling stories, real combat, no training replicates. Carlos heard dismissal before in every international forum, every military demonstration. Traditional Filipino martial arts labeled performance, cultural dance, impractical. What modern instructors didn't understand: Filipino blade combat evolved constant testing, not dojos training halls, but actual life-death encounters spanning centuries. Elaborate patterns weren't dance, sophisticated geometry. Unnecessary movements weren't excess, deception, misdirection, efficiency beyond simple direct force. Mr. Goldstein, Carlos finally spoke, voice steady, respectful. Understand skepticism. Krav Maga earned reputation through effectiveness. Never dispute that. Paused, meeting Avi's eyes. But perhaps effectiveness takes different forms. Perhaps appears flashy and trained. I actually result understanding blade dynamics beyond simple direct attacks. Avi's expression showed polite condescension. Blade dynamics, Mr. Mendez. Knife fight lasts seconds. Need disable opponents before disable you. Everything else academic. Then perhaps, Carlos said calmly, test principles practically, not theory, not debate, demonstration. Room went completely silent. Challenge. Avi's eyebrow raised. Suggest face off, not fight. Carlos clarified. Live blade defense scenarios. Defend using Krav Maga principles. Defend using Filipino blade combat principles. Neutral judges score based effectiveness, efficiency, survivability. Let techniques speak themselves. Moment Avi looked genuinely surprised. Slow smile spread face. Mr. Mendez respect confidence. Very well understand Krav Maga principles prove superior, as will hope acknowledge traditional systems, belong cultural demonstrations, not combat training. Symposium organizers, sensing historic nature moment, immediately began arrangements. Wasn't demonstration anymore, test philosophies. Modern scientific combat training versus centuries-old warrior traditions. Israeli military efficiency versus Filipino martial heritage. 6 months passed. Demonstration scheduled September 2019, neutral facility Singapore. Word spread, international martial arts military communities. International Combat Federation agreed judge. Venue filled 300 plus spectators, military instructors, martial artists, combat sports athletes, security professionals, 40 countries. Cameras lined walls. Live-streamed martial arts schools, military training facilities worldwide. Avi arrived team confident, prepared. Spent 6 months refining blade defense techniques, studying Filipino knife fighting videos. Understand Carlos might attempt. Concluded elaborate movements create openings, direct Krav Maga counters exploit. Carlos arrived quietly, carrying simple equipment bag. Mentor grandmother Raymond Santos, 76-year-old Filipino master, survived actual blade encounters. Years Manila police officer. Old man's scarred forearms, told stories, real combat. Demonstration began. Scenario 1. Defense single blade attack. Professional stunt coordinator executes realistic knife attacks. Each defender demonstrates system response. Attacks various angles, high slashes, low stabs, reverse grip, forward grip. Judges score efficiency, movement, likelihood, survival, control. Attacker. Avi went first. Attacker forward slash. Avi's response textbook Krav Maga, aggressive forward movement, simultaneous block strike, control weapon arm. Brutal knee, attacker's body, weapon disarm. 5 seconds, effective, powerful. Audience applauded. Judges mark scores. Carlos's turn, same attack pattern. Happened next, made everyone lean forward. Carlos didn't move. Avi's subtle angle change, looked almost casual. Hand flowed, redirecting blade, trapping attacker's wrist, positioning Carlos outside attack line. Attacker's momentum carried past, completely off balance. Carlos's training blade touched 3 lethal points: throat, kidney, spine. Motion fluid, looked choreographed. Total time 3 seconds. Room quiet. Different attack pattern. Attacks continued: high reverse slash, low stab, overhead ice pick grip. Contrast became apparent. Avi's defenses powerful, direct met force, block strength, countered aggression. Every technique worked. Every defense succeeded. Significant physical commitment. Left brief moments, mutual vulnerability. Carlos's defenses almost effortless. Body moved, violating physics, lightweight shifts, maximum effect. Hand movements defended attacks simultaneously. Footwork placed positions attackers, blade never reach, while counterblade found openings instantly. Avi audience witnessing Filipino blade combat. Wasn't flashy show, every motion, angle, transition, refined generations actual combat. Elaborate patterns, sophisticated geometry. Scenario 3 defense, multiple attackers, difference undeniable. Avi face to attackers, training blades. Response brave, aggressive, disable one quickly, turn other, maximum force. Succeeded judges noted absorbed serious cuts, real scenario. Technique worked, toughness, willingness, trade damage. Carlos face same scenario. Happened next, analyzed martial arts schools years. Carlos didn't fight, both attackers moved, precise timing, positioning kept one attacker between himself other. Blade work constant threat, forced both attackers' defensive reactions. Controlled distance, angle, timing, completely neither commit attack without exposing themselves. Within 15 seconds, Carlos disabled both attackers without receiving single scoring touch. Head judge Russian systems master stood. Stop. Need see again. Ran 3 times, result same. Carlos wasn't stronger, faster. Avi understanding blade dynamics, spatial relationships, timing operated completely different level. Final scenario most challenging. Confined space defense. Defenders narrow corridor simulating hallways, stairwells, close quarters, urban environments. Krav Maga designed such scenarios. Limited space favored direct aggressive techniques. Avi's demonstration textbook, perfect explosive forward movement, brutal strikes, weapon control. Succeeded. Judges noted sustained significant injuries. Real scenario, confined space, limited options for space defense. Carlos entered corridor, everyone expected struggle. Limited space, neutered system, reliance movement angles. Instead, Carlos demonstrated Filipino martial arts, evolved bamboo groves, jungle trails, narrow village paths. Confined space didn't limit concentrated advantages. Walls, narrow space limited. Avi's power movements created geometric advantages. Carlos's blade work. Weapon move tight, efficient patterns seemed create space, none existed. Defense looked effective, confined area open. Final scores tallied, results clear. Both systems effective, save lives. Pure technical efficiency, survivability, versatility. Filipino blade combat principles demonstrated superiority every scenario. Room stunned silence, judges announced decision. Avi Goldstein did something elevated, beyond skilled fighter, true martial artist. Walked across demonstration floor, Carlos stood, every eye venue watched. Carlos, Avi said loud enough, everyone here. Wrong. Completely wrong. Extended hand, Carlos took it. Called art, flashy demonstration. Dismissed cultural performance, watching today. Shook head, genuine humility. Sophisticated close quarters combat system encountered. Came culture, heritage, ancestors' wisdom. Turned Carlos. Ancestors developed system, weren't performing, solving problems. Took system hundreds years. Modern scientific analysis approach. Ways solve better. Carlos bowed respectfully. Master Avi, Krav Maga excellent designed. Art, different circumstances, needs not better, worse. Different solutions, same problem, survival. Avi shook head. No, Carlos, proud demonstrated today. Wasn't technique, art, science combined, highest level. World needs, understand traditional martial arts, aren't historical curiosities, repositories, sophisticated knowledge, still learning, appreciate. Video exchange went viral, week to 100 million views. Martial arts schools worldwide reached Filipino instructors. Military training programs investigated Filipino blade combat principles. Security training requested Filipino martial arts consultants. International Combat Federation officially recognized Filipino martial arts systems. Military law enforcement training certification, never done traditional martial art before. Significant outcome happened quietly. Avi Goldstein flew Manila 3 months later, spent 2 weeks training grandmother Raymond Santos. 76-year-old master, Israeli instructor, became close friends. Avi incorporated Filipino blade principles, Krav Maga instruction, creating hybrid system over both approaches. Thought knew everything knife combat. Avi later told students. Carlos showed barely scratched surface. Filipino masters studying blade dynamics, century sketching up. Carlos never sought fame, demonstration. Returned small training school Manila, teaching same principles, family preserved generations. Students came around world, seeking understand sophistication, hidden dismiss cultural dance. Grandmother Raymond asked demonstration, significant smiled, wisdom survived real blade encounters. People confuse simplicity, effectiveness. Think complex, impractical. Carlos didn't use complexity, precision. Every movement purpose, every angle advantage. Not flash efficiency, highest form. Story teaches effectiveness, many forms. Sophisticated solutions, don't look, expect. Israeli approach, direct, forceful, scientifically analyzed, effective, valuable. Filipino approach, geometric, fluid, refined, centuries, actual combat, equally effective, valuable. Coexist, learn each other. True mastery, proving way, only way, recognizing excellence, challenges, everything thought new. Avi Goldstein, better martial artist, defending ego, opening mind, wisdom, different path. Importantly, never mistake tradition, obsolescence. Appears ancient actually timeless, looks performance actually perfection. Ancestors developed systems, weren't primitive solving same problems faced today. Solutions sometimes sophisticated modern science produced. Filipino blade combat didn't need validation, validated countless real encounter centuries. World needed learn Carlos's ancestors always knew. True effectiveness comes force alone, understanding deep looks effortless.